Ah, Lethal Company. What a fun little game about capitalism with your friends. You get to collect items, make money, and repeat. This is the life. Nothing can ruin this.
Complete the onboarding process.
What the fuck? This is Brutal Company. Brutal Company is a mod that makes Lethal Company go from Minecraft to Dark Souls. It adds in events that completely change the spawns, weather, and general crap that can happen. You can have a day where the company drops off valuable items, and then you can have 50 forest giants spawn on top of you. This mod is difficult, and when it comes to difficulty and Lethal Company, the hardest thing that you can do in base Lethal Company is go for high quotas. In Lethal Company, you have 3 days to reach a quota, collect enough scrap, and you'll complete that quota. As the days go on, each quota gets harder than the last, and quota 10 is usually seen as the sweet spot or as close to beating the game as possible. You can't go further, but it's usually a gamble. So that's where I set my idea. Is it possible to beat Lethal Company's hardest mod? Well, let's find out. So for starters, I need to assemble a team. As much as doing this challenge by myself would have been cool, some events in this game make that completely impossible, and I'll explain why. Here are the rules for this challenge. I must complete the 10th quota of Brutal Company by selling enough scrap, aka beating the game. The second rule is the important one. The only events that can be banned from being used are the ones that have zero counterplay due to lag specifically. This mod can lag a lot, and sometimes, especially with the Bracken events, lag the game so badly that you pretty much just die instantly with nowhere to save yourself. And that's just stupid. So for the sake of my sanity and your entertainment, these events are banned. However, they are not the hardest events in the game. The third rule is at least 2 people have to be completing a run at a time. And this is because the 4 of us are at completely different time zones and organising times is a pain in the ass. But speaking of the 4 of us, who are the other 3 teammates? Well, they are none other than Snaspy, a FNAF fangame Let's Player I'm sure most of you are familiar with. Spinlock Films, a FNAF YouTuber who likes Legos a bit too much and has 0 hours in this game, and Snorts, the only friend of mine who actually has hours in Lethal Company. As for me, Lethal Company is my favourite game, so quite frankly, I know my shit, as you will see later. But with that out of the way, it's time to begin this challenge. I'll explain events as we go along, but let's get started. Attempt 1 started off as good as it could have, with Snaspy dying immediately by jumping off the ship, which I thought was hilarious because quite frankly, we had gotten one of the easiest events in the entire mod. Nothing happened today. Nothing happened today basically acts as the baseline on which everything is built off. You might say that this is just normal Lethal Company, however that wouldn't be entirely accurate. This event being first works quite well in explaining how base enemy spawn work for this mod. In normal Lethal Company, every enemy has a base chance to spawn on every moon, with some enemies having a higher chance on some moons than others. However, in this version of the game, those chances are completely out the window. Now, every single enemy has a guaranteed appearance. You will get a Bracken, you will get a Nutcracker, you will get a Mast, you will get a Maneater. However, the one good thing is due to quite literally a glitch in the mod's coding, outdoor enemies only spawn if it's a certain event. Although Mars can still come outside, so don't think it's free. And of course, bees can spawn, so that's fun. Anyways, as much as this day was free, because Snaspy died, Spinlock was inexperienced, and Snorts wasn't quite here yet, we didn't get as much as we wanted done today. So we only left with 254 scrap. Not a good start. The very next day, we got the event titled, They Just Wants to Play, which is the Ghost Girl event, spawning up to 30 Ghost Girls at the start of the match, which honestly just means you treat them like one Ghost Girl. This event honestly isn't all that bad, all things considered. I did get haunted after Spinlock died. Snaspy and I managed to clear a total of 692 scrap, which made it worth it. I should mention too, this mod allows us to collect a lot more scrap as a side effect of getting absolutely cooked 9 times out of 10. Day 3 of Quota 1, we went from assurance to experimentation, and we got Spring Escape, which spawns a bunch of coil heads outside, which sounds absolutely terrible, since coil heads are by far one of the most dangerous enemies in this game. However, for those who don't know, they got hard nerfed. needing to cool down after a certain amount of time. And on top of that, because everyone's outside, you can see coral heads from so many different angles, and also from a lot further away. So honestly, this one wasn't really that bad. Besides that, at this point, we were pretty clueless and afraid, plus experimentation has literally nothing, so we only got 190 scrap. So we finished quota 1 with a total of 1,136 scrap, which honestly isn't that bad. Quota 2, we started with We Are Evolving, which is the Hydra Glare event, which for those who do not know what the Hydra Glare is, it's the slime monster, probably one of the most weak enemies in the entire game, except in this mode. Inside you get like 4 spawn, which isn't that good, plus they are faster, and on top of that, there's one that spawns outside, which is insanely fast, and it can also block the ship controls, so you better have someone managing the blob outside. However, it turns out on this day, the biggest threat wasn't the Hydro Glares, it was Springlock Films. Yes, there's one more thing in here. Hey, bro, what? Dude.
I did not know that you killed him. What the fuck?
But anyways, despite the fact this guy committed murder, I had hopes. But then Snaspy also died, and we were confident that Springlock was dead. Yet, somehow, he managed to loop this Hydro Glare better than I can loop the Trapper. And even though he managed to escape and keep the one alive, all of this amazing loot that I had collected was left behind, giving us a measly 305 scrap, which had me worried since for a successful quota 10, the early days count. If you don't collect enough backlog cash, then once you get to the later levels, you'll have to work twice as hard, and there's more chance for you to choke and get killed, which will just end the run. So hopefully we can pick up the pace. Day 2 we got Spring Escape again, and although Snaspy died, Springlock and I managed to clutch up, and with some teamwork and good communication, we got 999 scrap, which definitely helped picking up the pace. However, the next day, we got Outside the Box, which is Jesters, arguably the most dangerous enemy in the entire game. But they are outside, which poses some serious problems when it comes to being outside, in that you have to be very efficient when transporting loot, because even 1 second of fumbles can result in you or one of your teammates getting killed. And in our first crack of this event, we certainly tried our best. Jesters are one of the few enemies that only I seem to have an understanding of, as their AI is actually really simple, and Jesters are very easy to counter, by yourself. I won't go into the AI of every single creature in this game since we would be here literally all fucking day, but I will quickly explain Jesters. Basically, once Jesters spot the player, a timer starts until they wind up and pop. Once they pop, they see if anyone is inside the facility, and if they are, they will start their journey, building speed to find them until they are dead. However, if everyone has left the facility, they immediately reset back to stage 1. Now this mod changes that so that if everyone is inside the facility, they reset, since the Jesters are outside. However, the others at this stage did not understand this, and after a long day, I managed to save the run and escape, leaving with 328 scrap. So we did manage to lose a bit of the scrap that we should have gotten, but hey, we still have a few more days. After selling 357 to keep up with our quota, I should also mention that the quotas are higher than a normal run. We began quota 3 with nothing happened today, which should have been free, except there was an enemy that had other ideas. No.
No.
Man-eaters are super dangerous, and I was super terrified that the round would end. But despite that, Springlock and Snaspy managed to make it back to the ship with 443 loot, which made it worthwhile. Day 2 was Spring Escape again. However, due to some bad luck and us being scared little babies, we only managed to get 110 scrap, which was our worst day so far. Day 3, we got Pop Goes the Holy Fuck, which is the second Jester event, and in my opinion is the more dangerous of the two. In this event, Jesters spawn inside, and once they begin winding up, their wind up timer is much shorter. Normally it's about 35 to 45 seconds, and now it's 0 to 20 seconds. so they can instantly pop, which is horrifying and dangerous since you have no warning at all. However, on our first day, we got 491 scrap and lost Springlock. However, after selling quota 3, Snorts finally made it into the lobby and we were able to start quota 4 with a full squad. We also bought flashlights because we had the money and because they are very useful items to help locate hidden scrap. Quota 4 started with a banger. Outside the box, which was also on Titan, which was our new moon of choice, and the main moon that we will be visiting from this point on, since it has more loot than any other map in the entire game, and it was going extremely well. However, Springlock died and set the autopilot, which turned out to be a glitch, but we tefs let him know that we were angry since we only got 456 scrap out of a possible 4,000. Not a good day. On top of that, Titan was eclipsed the next day, so we had to divert to March where we got Pop Goes the Holy Fuck. However, because Springlock and myself are both complete fucking idiots, we proceeded to nearly get the whole team killed with bees right as we started. But our newly added teammate Snorts managed to save everyone, although Snaspy was left behind, leaving us with a pathetic 171 scrap. Day 3, we went to experimentation and got Turret Terror, which spawns turrets everywhere. However, this event isn't always as terrible since turrets tend to group up on one side of the building. However, with 5 times the usual turret spawns, we needed to be very careful as this event could be incredibly dangerous. Although I died first, not to turrets, but the fucking bees, I don't think bees would get on with me very well. Soon Snaspy was knocked out by the turrets and Snorts managed to make it back to the ship. However, disaster soon struck. Snorts was instantly killed by the bees that I had managed to get onto the ship, and in a panic, we voted to leave. But Springlock had no idea, and as the ship was about to take off, he ran back towards the facility, leaving the ship to leave without him and resulting in a team wipe, resulting in the run ending. After that disaster, we get hit with our very first event on attempt 2, Unfair Company. This is the worst event in the entire mod, being an eclipse, an event that spawns a ton of monsters, but on steroids, getting multiple of every outdoor and indoor enemy spawning, including eyeless dogs, earth leviathans, baboon hawks, giants, and more. This event is absolute hell, and honestly, the best way to avoid it is just to skip it usually. But we decided to have a crack at it because it was the first day. Surprisingly, both Springlock and me managed to avoid everything and make it back, if only with 114 loot, which is a bad start, but for this event, an absolute godsend. Day 2 was better, since nothing happened today, which was going amazingly, until the glitch happened again, and we only ended up with 362 compared to what I assumed would have been 1,000. But after resetting the lobby, we got nothing happen today again, and Springlock tested the bug by stepping on a landmine, confirming it was fixed. Although we got distracted, so we only ended up with 182, but at the very least, we had high hopes for the future. Quota 2 started with the reason that this challenge is impossible solo, the Hunger Games. When this event occurs, one player is randomly chosen to be the tribute, resulting in them immediately dying upon entering the facility. And at this time, it was Snorts, leaving me and Springlock to explore since Snaspy was AFK for some reason. And explore we did. Well, until this happened as I tried to get back to the ship.
Oh, they just stare on your head?
I'm flying, bro. Oh wait, no, wrong way, go back. Oh, there's no way. You suck. You all suck. I hate these guys.
Dude, that is actually so messed up.
I think I found something I hate more than the bees. With that, we only got 41 scrap, which was our worst day ever. Not a good start to quota 2. Day 2 was the Snare Flea event, aka Bring a Shovel. This one spawns like 20 snare fleas around the map, but they tend to group up, so this event is honestly pretty easy. You just have to be careful, and this day was really good. Despite losing Snorts, we managed to get 678 scrap, which we were very happy about. The final day was the Ghost Girl event, which resulted in me both being the errand boy and having to leave since everyone died, leaving us with 340 scrap. I don't know how this happened. Quota 3 was our first time on Titan, with the event Turret Terror. which is very fitting since in normal Lethal Company, this map is the turret hell. And on this day, we did pretty well, although we did only get 522 because all the items that we found were low value, but nothing was stopping us from going back. Oh, for God's sake. Now, Stormy is one of the scariest events in the game since you can just get one tap. However, because there were 4 of us, we were actually able to avoid 95% of the random strikes, meaning we just had to be careful of metal items and we would be fine. However, we arguably got the worst event for this map. They guard this place. This event places nutcrackers outside. And for those who are wondering, nutcrackers are one of the most dangerous enemies in this game, especially for this challenge. But despite that, we managed to clutch up thanks to Snorts and his amazing ability to balls his way through anything, giving us a needed 692 scrap and a free 3rd day. However, day 3, we got Hoarder Town, which is a huge problem for this challenge and actually, in my opinion, was the worst event that we faced. This spawns a bunch of hoarding bugs outside, and on top of that, they will walk into the ship and steal loot, since on Titan, the ship clips into the ground. This meant that Snorts had to stay behind to guard the loot, although some loot would definitely be lost, and despite our best efforts, everyone died, and I was forced to leave with a pathetic 267 loot. However, we entered quota 4 with shotguns, and on our first day on Titan, all moons reset, which is the same as nothing happened today, meaning we had plenty time to get as much loot as possible. And on this day, we cooked. We managed to maximize the amount of loot and got a whopping 2,338 loot, which was amazing, and best still was Titan was free again. Day 2 was the Ghost Girl day, but I wasn't too worried. This event is annoying, but honestly not too terrible. But one thing about this game is it can change very quickly. Whoa, what? Oh, this is a new thing. Oh. What?
Oh my god, it's over. Oh my god, it's over.
What? That's insane.
Dude, those are bad. I literally went out the front door and
That was so trash. We had just lost the entire run to something I didn't even know about. For those who don't know, there's a new weather event called the meteor shower, which has a, let's see here, a 0.6% chance of occurring. This event basically ends the day since you just can't be outside, and we got wiped. Right after our amazing day before, we were crushed. We did actually try to get the run back since we had gotten so much loot on Titan, but then we got unfair company and we team wiped again. We were not a happy bunch at the moment. Attempt 3 happened the next day, with Snorts and I starting the run instead of Snaspy and Springlock. Day 1 we got unfair company and died. But day 1 isn't a reset, so we tried again, and got the Rumbling, arguably the most iconic Brutal Company mod. This event spawns tens of Forest Keepers at the start, meaning you can have up to 20 giants outside, and despite our best efforts, we both died again. And this time we did reset because the luck was not on our side. Yeah, I know that's a bit redundant, but whatever, it's my video. So attempt 4 day 1. This time we got Mindscape Terror, which is basically the turret level, but landmines. However, this one does lag the fuck out of the game, but not in a game-breaking way like the Bracken mods did, so we did have to include it. However, Snorts and I absolutely cooked on the first day, getting 554 scrap on our first day. Day 2 was Hoarder Town, but we still weren't that worried. But then we got another meteor shower. What the fuck? However, we did manage to escape this time despite having that PTSD flashback from yesterday. Still managing to get 205 scrap despite that. Day 3, we got Bring a Shovel again, so it was smooth sailings. Although Snorts did die, we managed to walk away with an impressive 574 scrap. Quota 2, we got the Hunger Games, and considering it was just us two, it was gonna be a solo mission. And the person who was playing solo was Snorts. And Snorts clutched up, pulling an insane 630 scrap, which was amazing. Day 2, we got Mindscape Terror, which we ended up leaving early because of a bracken. Now, in any other event, I wouldn't mind, but this event causes so much lag that the bracken could just easily kill me with no counter. So I decided to leave, and although Snorts went back in, he perished, and we only got 402 scrap, but that's not too bad. Day 3, we lucked out with all moons reset, and with some clutch plays, we managed to get a cheeky 542, which was a pretty good average. Quota 3, we started on Titan, with Pop Goes the Holy Fuck, managing to get an insane 1,351 scrap, so this is starting to go well. Snorts and I were Def's the dream team, since we were both the most experienced. Snorts is the more ballsy and more willing to do stuff to end up with a profit, while I understood the risk and reward factor and know a lot more about the AI than anyone else on our team, and being able to feed the information to Snorts helped a lot, and that would be tested on the next day. With Spring Escape, this event is very manageable, especially on Titan. However, it requires a ton of communication and knowing when someone is looking at the coil heads or not. However, on this run, I got completely blasted when I exited the fire escape, meaning Snorts would have to do it all solo, which he did with flying colours, although he only got 180 scrap, which was pretty unlucky, but it makes sense since 6 coil head solo is horrifying. Day 3, we learned that the worst event was Hoarder Town, as Snorts had to stay behind to defend the loot while I looted, although with the mansion I only managed to get 310 scrap. Quota 4 started with Hoarder Town again, so again, we only got 307 scrap. Day 2, we got the Ghost Girls, where I instantly stepped on a fucking landmine, making Snorts instantly haunted, and giving us our lowest scrap with only 5 scrap. However, considering that we had seen what the 1,000 scrap day was like, we knew we could bring it back. And the next day, we didn't. Snorts died instantly and both exits were trash, so we got 5 scrap again, which was just the bodies. So then it was on to Quota 5, where we really needed to make up for our losses. And day 1, we certainly did. We cleared house with mines and it being stormy. We milked the whole day for all it was worth and got a whopping 1,278 scrap. The next day was Bring a Shovel. Snorts ended up dying semi-early and we only walked away with 330, but considering how good the previous day was, we knew we just needed the couple of good days to take this run back in our favour. And the next day, we had Ghost Girls and cooked again. With Snorts and I finally understanding how they work, we got 1,069 scrap to end off Quota 6. So far, this was our record, and on top of that, we were doing really well, and we actually thought this was going to be the run. Although Snorts and I doing all the work was tiring, managing to do all of this without anyone else was kinda nuts. Quota 6 started with the Blob, where I was tasked with looping duty. Honestly, I thought I was playing DBD. And to make things interesting, today was a 1 item only day, which was perfume bottles. I think Lethal Company was trying to tell us that we stunk, but we got 891 scrap worth of bottles, so we should smell good now. And we even bought a shower and disco lights to celebrate, and Sprinlock Films finally got online. It's a miracle. Now, I won't go step by step anymore since all the days were going really well. Snapsman ended up joining and we were making very steady progress. And at this point, we were very confident we were going to make it to the end of the challenge, and finally hit Quota 10. We got through Quota 7, 8, and 9, and now all that was left was Quota 10. However, we had one huge problem. We had a profit quota of 4,963, and we were 100% nowhere near, and we would need to find some way to clutch up and make enough money. Day 1, we got nothing happened. However, everyone died, so I had to leave with 520 scrap, and day 2, the same event again. But again, everyone died, so we only got 507. And looking at everyone else's footage, the final day was here, and we realized we needed about 1,300 scrap to have a chance of making quota. And we got Spring Escape, which isn't the worst, but we needed to work our butts off if we wanted to pull this off. 1,014 scrap was all we had to show for it after everything, and as we sold everything to the company, we were hopeful that we would have enough, praying that we had miscounted, praying something went wrong in our favour. But after every piece of scrap was sold, we only had 4,273 out of a needed 4,963. This was an absolutely tragic run. We came so close, literally only 1 day's worth away. If Snorts and I hadn't had those 2 fire scrap days, we would have had it. We had come so close just to fail, and Spinlock and Snaspy didn't have anything else in them, since it was pretty late at this point. So they hopped off. However, Snorts and I were willing to give it one more try. Alright, it's time to be a fucking gamer. By some miracle, Snorts and I had made it to quota 10 again, but we were low on scrap. But we were determined. We had spent over 12 hours straight playing this game. We were not going to force another run. It was do or die, now or never. We had to play better than we had ever played before. We had to risk it all. So after all 40 days, all the hours we had put into this monstrous challenge, we managed to end the run with 5,804 out of a needed 4,848. Snorts and I had single-handedly managed to complete this monstrous challenge and prove that it is indeed possible to beat Lethal Company's hardest mod. This was by far the most difficult challenge I have ever taken on, and it wouldn't have been possible without my team, Snorts, Snaspy, and Springlock. Please go check them out in the description below. And of course, if you enjoyed this video and you want to see more like it, be sure to let me know by liking the video and sharing it with your friends, as well as letting me know in the comments what games you'd like to see me run next. This was an insane video that took me over 6 months of playing to pull off, so I really appreciate you sticking to the end. Anyways, thank you all so much for all the support, and I'll see you in the next video.